Good evening, everyone. My name is Edgar, and this is Mystcon. Tonight's report is about a place that is very special to me. Yes, my notoriously necrotic Mystcon fam. This episode is about the state that old Edgar was born in. Connecticut. Learn about some truly movie-worthy creepiness. In fact, they did make a film about this spine-chilling tale. A ghastly situation right down the street from where I, your hideously humble host, played as a child. So lean back and get into the zone. We are approaching Creep Factor 5 in The Horrors of Southington, Connecticut. Alright, so The Haunting in Connecticut was a film made in 2009 based on some true events that took place in Southington, Connecticut. But previously, there was actually a book called In a Dark Place, The Story of a True Haunting. And that book was by Ray Garton in 1992. So the story, well, here's the story. Here's the characters in the story. The Snedeker family. So there was the mom, Carmen, the dad, Alan, and there was, Philip, Bradley, and Alan Jr., the three sons. And then there is Jennifer, the daughter. And later on, actually, two cousins join the adventure, but let's just move on. So, Philip, their oldest son, was undergoing treatments for cancer in a Connecticut hospital, and the family currently lived in New York. Philip was also severely dyslexic, which will be important later. The family thought it best that they move closer to the hospital which Philip was getting his treatments at, so he can have a better chance of survival. The Snedeker family did not have a lot of money, so Carmen found this great deal on a home that can house all of the children, and a phenomenal price for the place and area. On June 30th, 1986, they all moved into 208 Meriden Avenue in Southington, Connecticut. Now, some people believe that Carmen knew that the house she was moving the family into was previously a funeral home and had a morgue in the basement. Carmen claims that this was not true, and she was deceived, and renovation equipment was blocking her view of items that they discovered later, including a coffin hoisting apparatus, gurneys for bodies, multiple drains for the blood, toe tags, and other things that would give anyone pause. The homeowner and neighbor both stated she was very aware, and that is obviously why the home was such a great deal. Philip, the older son, didn't like the house, said to his mom, the house is evil and they should leave right away. They financially couldn't afford to move, but neither Alan nor Carmen believed their son. When moving into the home, they noticed that every doorway had a cross on top of the door frames, hanging by an iron nail. Throughout their stay, these crosses would start disappearing, but the nails would remain. An odd thing to note is that Carmen stated that she actually didn't want to originally stay at the home because of how sick Philip was, and that it would remind him of death because of his cancer. But, weirdly enough, the room they prepared for him was in the basement, right next to the morgue. Her reasoning for moving him in there was he had access to the bathroom. His treatments made him really sick and he needed to use the bathroom often. They made sure, though, to block the access to the morgue area from all the kids. The day they moved in, Alan had to get back to work, which was in New York, so he left Carmen to attend to the kids in the home until he returned. First night at the house, Philip heard someone repeating his name over and over, and with intent to frighten him, he ran to his mom, Carmen, and she thought it was probably him hearing his dad's voice on the phone. He ran to his mom, Carmen, and she thought it was probably him hearing his dad's voice on the phone as she was saying goodnight to him. And he imagined the repeating part, or the fact that he heard his name clearly. One day, kids being kids, and being curious, took down the barricades to the morgue to explore. The kids found blood on the walls and floor, actively dripping, and told their mom, but she ignored them, saying it's kids being kids. And they actually got in trouble for being there. She never checked on the claims. And as soon as Alan returned, they re-barricaded the morgue. Another night, Philip saw a man all dressed in black with a hollow, death-like face. He was tall and lanky and exuding darkness about him. He told his mom, and her thoughts were that her son might have been hallucinating as a result of his medications. The doctor said none of the medications would cause hallucinations. Another incident happened when 4 figures appeared in the other kids' rooms. The kids collectively felt that people had broken into their home, and of course they alerted their mom. She contemplated calling the police, but apparently after she searched the house, she decided the kids might have just been making stuff up. Philip one day started taking down the barricade to the morgue aggressively, and when Carmen and Alan asked what he was doing, he said he made a deal with the tall man. His personality changed after that, and Carmen thought it was probably his medications again, or being depressed because of his disease. Philip became a mean-spirited, rude person, and above all, extremely aggressive, which was not his personality. Carmen finally started noticing things after that. Lights were flickering and they removed the bulbs, but noticed they would still flicker. Both her and Alan tried saying there were electrical issues, but it was becoming harder and harder to dismiss unexplained things. Dishes would independently move and relocate themselves all throughout the house. And the incident that finally convinced Carmen was when she started mopping her kitchen floor and noticed blood was coming up through the tiles. She remained staring at it and hoping it would go away. Yeah, because that is usually very effective. It finally did, but after a very long period of time, which tipped her off that something perhaps paranormal or evil might be going on. Carmen started paying attention more to Philip and found his journal. The journal contained stories about the abuse victims suffered at the hands of the morgue attendants. Multiple gruesome stories about rape and abuse and mutilation of these bodies was clearly depicted in many of the entries. These stories were perfectly written, but as you may remember, Philip was severely dyslexic. When asked about this, he simply said the man that he made the deal with helped him write them. Philip's cousins, Tammy and an unnamed cousin, had moved in because they were having some family issues. Philip one day attacked Tammy to the point where he was taken away in a straitjacket. And when he was in the mental institution, he wouldn't stop talking about the torture he was receiving from spirits, and yes, as you can guess, he was then diagnosed with schizophrenia. He remained in the hospital for a month and a half. With Philip gone, the entities needed someone else to torture. A scent of rotting flesh and decay was reported throughout the house. The spirits started attacking the entire family, especially Carmen, even going as far as sexually assaulting her, and her niece, as well as Alan, her husband. After the assaults, Carmen started reading her Bible out loud and noticed a hand going up Tammy's shirt, and started truly wanting to get outside help. Yes, I can definitely see that. I would be thinking about some help as well, or perhaps fleeing is another valid option. So meanwhile, they reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who you guys may have heard of them. You likely have heard of them, to find out what was going on and possibly help them out with an exorcism. Edward Warren, a World War II U.S. Navy vet, and Lorraine Warren were an American paranormal investigator team and authors associated with prominent cases of hauntings, and they were also local to the area. They moved into the home with the family, along with another investigator named John Zaffis. For several weeks, they lived there and claimed to experience the family being tortured, pushed, beaten, and slammed into objects and walls. According to Ed and Lorraine, the morgue workers had been assaulting the bodies in the morgue in gruesome and horrible and indescribable ways. They made this statement without knowing about Philip's journal. It was decided that an exorcism and an independent blessing needed to be performed right away. After rituals were performed, there were no more incidents reported, and the investigators deemed the house cleared of evil. Philip passed away from cancer in 2012, and it was noted he was misdiagnosed with schizophrenia because his symptoms disappeared after the exorcism, and he did not see or hear anything else after that, all the way up until his death. Now, as with all stories, there are always little red flags or breadcrumbs that eat away at our desire to believe the stories. Here are a few red flags with this story. The current owner said that the house is not haunted and was never haunted. Some claim there was an upstairs neighbor living in the home and who also never had an incident. Well, some claim. Who are these some that claim? Wouldn't there be records proving or disproving that there was a neighbor there? Anyway, let's see. Some claim that Philip had a drug habit. All right. Ray Garton, the author who was hired to write the original book on the haunting, claimed that the family and friends, including Ed and Lorraine, could not keep their stories straight, and claims he was told to sensationalize the story. Well, encouraging sensationalizing or being confused about stories is not a crime. After all of this, is this truly a creepy paranormal event or not? You decide, guys. No, I'm just kidding. Imagine if we really ended videos that way, without having some sort of summary. I don't know, guys. I think it might have all been made up stuff from the sound of some of these red flags. Call it my spidey sense. After all, good old Edgar has a morgue in his laboratory, and not one of its visitors have ever complained. Well, that does it for me this week. Wait, what's that? Do you hear a creepy voice in your mind? Is it saying, subscribe, share, subscribe, share? I think it is. If you guys like our content, you know what to do. If you click the bell, then you will know that when the bell tolls, it's time for Mystcon. Thanks again for joining me, and until next time, try to enjoy the laws of physics. My name is Edgar, and this is Mystcon. Have a creepy day.